Jews revere it as the site of two biblical temples. It's known as both Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, and Temple Mount.
An almost 3 millennia-old network of hewn rock ducts unearthed in Jerusalem has baffled archaeologists.
For centuries, the Temple Mount has been called the holiest place on earth, the very heart of ancient faith and history. But a groundbreaking new discovery has shaken that belief to its core. Using advanced AI and ground-penetrating radar, scientists uncovered something hidden deep beneath the sacred ground. Something no one was ever meant to find. At first, it looked like ordinary stone walls and forgotten tunnels. But as the scans continued, the data revealed a sealed chamber, untouched for thousands of years, and an inscription so disturbing it sent chills through the entire research team. What they found beneath the Temple Mount could rewrite history, and it's far darker than anyone imagined. The find is so extraordinary it's being described as more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. Temple Mount, ground zero of faith. Here, history, religion, and modern politics collide in a slow-motion disaster that has been unfolding for centuries. But this mystery didn't begin today. Back in the 1860s, a daring British officer named Charles Warren arrived in Jerusalem on behalf of the Palestine Exploration Fund. His mission? To find physical proof of the ancient temples mentioned in the Bible. What he uncovered then was only the beginning of a mystery that still shakes the world today. Even in Warren's time, he couldn't just show up with a shovel and start digging on the Temple Mount. That would have caused a massive uproar. So instead of going through the problem, he went under it. Armed with ropes, lanterns, and a small team of explorers, Warren descended into the darkness beneath Jerusalem. There, he discovered a hidden maze of narrow tunnels and ancient water systems carved deep into the bedrock beneath the old city. One of his most famous finds was a deep, vertical shaft, now known as Warren's Shaft. Some historians believe King David's soldiers may have used a similar passage to secretly infiltrate the city thousands of years ago. Warren's fearless explorations proved something astonishing, that an entire secret world lay hidden beneath the streets of Jerusalem. But even he encountered a barrier he could never cross: the Temple Mount itself. Religious authorities and local rulers strictly forbade anyone from disturbing even a single stone. The message was clear then, just as it is today. This ground was far too sacred to be treated like any ordinary archaeological site. From Warren's day to the present, the Temple Mount has remained a no-dig zone. For the Jewish people, it is the holiest place on earth, the site where Solomon's glorious first temple once stood, and later, the second temple. At the heart of those temples was the Holy of Holies, the most sacred chamber of all, believed to be the dwelling place of God's presence. And here's the mystery that still haunts archaeologists to this day. After thousands of years, no one knows exactly where that sacred chamber once stood. Because of this uncertainty, many religious leaders have long forbidden Jewish people from even setting foot on the Temple Mount. If someone were to accidentally step on the spot where the Holy of Holies once stood, it would be seen as a profound act of disrespect. That's why any kind of excavation beneath the mount is considered absolutely unthinkable. For Muslims, the site is equally sacred. It is home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the magnificent Golden Dome of the Rock. From this very place, known in Islam as the Noble Sanctuary, it's believed that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven during his night journey. An Islamic religious trust, known as the Waqf, has been the guardian of the mount for centuries. From their perspective, allowing outside archaeologists to dig into this holy ground would not only be an insult to their faith, but could also be seen as an attempt to challenge their history and their deep spiritual connection to the site. And so, the Temple Mount remains sealed, its ancient secrets locked beneath centuries of stone and silence. But faith isn't the only obstacle here. The Temple Mount is also one of the most politically sensitive places on Earth, a true powder keg waiting to explode. Since the Six-Day War of 1967, Israel has maintained security control over the area, while the Islamic Waqf continues to oversee religious affairs on the mount itself. This uneasy arrangement has created a fragile balance of power, one that everyone knows could shatter at any moment. Israel may hold the keys to the gates, but the Waqf runs the house. For decades, this delicate understanding has helped prevent full-scale conflict. But all it would take is one wrong move, a single controversial statement, or even a displaced stone to ignite unrest across the region. In such a charged atmosphere, archaeology stops being a simple science. It becomes a weapon. Every ancient coin, every piece of broken pottery, every uncovered wall can be used as proof by one side to strengthen its claim to the land and weaken the others. Because of this, the Temple Mount has become forbidden ground for archaeologists. It holds the memories of Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike, yet its history remains trapped beneath the surface, sealed away by faith, fear, and politics. But what if, against all odds, a door no one knew existed has just been found? For decades, archaeologists could only dream of uncovering what lies beneath the Temple Mount. The site was too sacred, the politics too explosive. It seemed that the secrets of the first and second temples were destined to stay buried forever, until now. Then, in the late 1990s, something happened that at first looked like a disaster, but soon became one of the greatest archaeological opportunities in Jerusalem's history. It began with an illegal construction project. Without any archaeological oversight, workers dug up massive amounts of soil from the Temple Mount, nearly 400 truckloads of it, and dumped it all into the nearby Kidron Valley. For historians and archaeologists, it was devastating. They knew this wasn't just dirt. It was a priceless archive of history, packed with artifacts and clues from thousands of years of human civilization. And now, all of it had been carelessly uprooted, mixed together, and thrown away like garbage. It seemed like an irreversible loss, centuries of buried stories scattered beyond recovery. But two determined archaeologists, Gabriel Barkay and Zachi Devira, refused to accept defeat. They had a daring idea. If they couldn't dig on the Temple Mount itself, why not study the soil that had been removed from it? In 2004, they launched what would become known as the Temple Mount Sifting Project. They gathered the discarded soil, brought it to a special facility in Jerusalem, and created a massive open-air laboratory. The method was simple but brilliant. Buckets of the soil were dumped onto mesh screens, water was poured over them, and as the dirt washed away, what remained was stones, fragments, and tiny artifacts waiting to be rediscovered. What made the project truly special was that it welcomed everyone, not just scientists. Families, students, tourists, and locals all volunteered to take part. Children on school trips shouted with joy as they uncovered ancient coins. Travelers from around the world carefully brushed dirt from pottery fragments that hadn't seen sunlight in over 2,000 years. For the first time, ordinary people were helping to rewrite Jerusalem's buried history, one handful of soil at a time. And the results? Absolutely astonishing. Over the years, the Temple Mount Sifting Project uncovered more than 500,000 artifacts. That's over 500,000 fragments of history saved from the trash heap, each one a whisper from the past that might have been lost forever. Many of the discoveries from the Sifting Project dated back to the First Temple period, the time of King Solomon. Thousands of broken pottery fragments were unearthed, the remains of everyday bowls, jugs, and cooking pots once used by ancient families. Archaeologists also found pieces of oil lamps that had illuminated homes and sacred spaces thousands of years ago. But one discovery stood out above all: tiny clay seals, known as bulli, once used to stamp official documents. In an incredible twist, some of these seals were engraved with the actual names of priestly families mentioned in the Bible. Suddenly, these weren't just stories written on ancient pages. They were real people who lived, worked, and worshipped at the temple itself. The Sifting Project proved something extraordinary. even discarded dirt can tell breathtaking stories. Among the finds were bronze incense shovels once used in temple rituals, pieces of jewelry, stone weights, and fragments of stone vessels from the Second Temple period, vessels believed to be immune to ritual impurity. And the discoveries didn't stop there. The soil revealed artifacts from nearly every era imaginable: Israelite, Babylonian, Greek, Roman, Byzantine, Islamic, Crusader, and Ottoman. Together, these finds painted a vivid picture. The Temple Mount was never an empty hill. For thousands of years, it had been a thriving centre of worship, trade, and everyday life, a true crossroads of the ancient world. What began as an act of destruction had transformed into an archaeological miracle. The mount itself remained off-limits, but its soil had finally spoken, whispering stories of kings and priests, of soldiers and merchants, of families who once walked those sacred stones. Yet, as stunning as these 500,000 discoveries were, they only hinted at something even greater. The deeper mysteries still buried far beneath the surface. Those secrets were about to be uncovered without ever touching a shovel. Scanners in the Holy Land. The Temple Mount Sifting Project had proven beyond doubt that history could be recovered, even from dirt cast aside. But the biggest question still lingered. What was still down there, hidden deep beneath the bedrock? For more than a century, that question remained unanswered, until now. Between 2021 and 2024, a new generation of scientists and archaeologists decided to approach the mystery in a revolutionary way. Instead of digging, they turned to artificial intelligence. Their plan relied on a cutting-edge technology known as ground-penetrating radar, GPR. It works by sending radio waves deep into the ground. When these waves strike something, a buried wall, a chamber, or a shift in the soil, they bounce back. Computers then read those echoes to create a kind of X-ray image of what lies below the surface. On its own, GPR can reveal remarkable things, but the images are often blurry and difficult to interpret. That's where AI came in. The research team began by feeding the AI an enormous amount of information, thousands of hours of data, including newly collected radar scans and old historical maps. Some of these maps had been drawn by British surveyors nearly a century ago. Those old maps provided the AI with crucial hints, references to known tunnels, cisterns and underground chambers that had been documented long before modern technology existed. The AI's mission was simple but powerful. Compare the new radar data with the old maps and spot patterns that the human eye could easily miss. By layering modern scans over historical records, the AI began to reveal hidden details buried deep beneath the surface. Details that had been invisible for centuries. A similar technique had already been used in Egypt to uncover hidden chambers inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, without ever removing a single stone. Now, that same groundbreaking approach was being applied to perhaps the most sacred and sensitive archaeological site on Earth, the Temple Mount. The results came quickly, and they were nothing short of breathtaking. The radar scans showed clear, unmistakable images of man-made structures buried deep beneath the mount. Long, straight walls, sharply angled corridors, and vast empty chambers that were clearly not formed by nature. Some of the AI's readings matched perfectly with locations marked on the old British Mandate maps, a huge relief for the team. It confirmed that the technology was working flawlessly. Places that had once existed only as faded sketches on paper were now appearing as crystal clear digital images on their screens. But then came the moment that stopped everyone cold. The AI began flagging anomalies, structures and chambers that didn't appear on any known map. It was detecting vast empty spaces large enough to be rooms, connected by narrow passageways that twisted beneath the surface. In essence, the team was staring at the blueprint of an unknown world hidden below Jerusalem. One of the first major discoveries was a small Byzantine chapel, buried deep underground. The scans revealed its walls, a curved apse where an altar would have once stood, and faint traces of crosses carved directly into the stone. Inscriptions written in Greek suggested that Christian pilgrims had gathered there nearly 1,600 years ago. But when the team looked deeper, both digitally and historically, the discoveries grew even more astonishing. Beneath the chapel's foundation, the radar picked up massive, perfectly cut stones known as ashlar blocks. Their immense size and precision matched the architectural style of King Solomon's era. These stones hinted at something extraordinary, evidence of a monumental structure that stood on the mount long before King Herod ever rebuilt it. And then came the biggest surprise of all. The scans revealed a vast, intricate water system, a web of cisterns, channels, and aqueducts stretching far wider than anyone had imagined. The network appeared to include flow control mechanisms, proving that its builders were highly advanced engineers, capable of regulating both pressure and volume with remarkable precision. Mineral analysis of the surrounding stone suggested that parts of this system dated all the way back to the First Temple period. It was a monumental breakthrough, a digital excavation that allowed scientists to explore the Mount's hidden layers without sparking political outrage or religious conflict. But just as the excitement reached its peak, the scans revealed something else. The AI detected an area that didn't match any known structure or historical record, a perfectly circular chamber, sealed tight and buried deep below everything else. Whatever was inside, the data hinted, was far more unsettling than anyone had imagined. They had stumbled onto something the researchers would later call Solomon's dark secret. The AI-powered scans had unveiled a hidden world beneath the Temple Mount, a lost chapel, ancient stones, and an enormous underground water system. Each of these discoveries was extraordinary, but one find stood apart from all the rest. It didn't fit into any known historical record, and when the researchers saw the data, it sent a chill through every single one of them. This discovery suggested something unthinkable, that the Temple Mount's oldest purpose might not have been a place of worship at all, but of containment. It began with a strange anomaly near the southern edge of the mount. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a thick stone wall. But when the AI cross-referenced the scans with geological data and old British maps, the image sharpened into focus, and what it revealed was deeply unsettling. It wasn't just a wall, it was a sealed entrance, deliberately hidden and untouched for what appeared to be thousands of years. The entrance led to a perfectly circular chamber about 10 feet across, carved directly into the solid bedrock. What baffled the scientists most was its condition, flawless. No cracks, no damage, no sign of collapse, even after centuries of earthquakes that had shaken Jerusalem. It was as if the chamber existed outside of time itself. Inside, the scans detected several objects. At the center of the room sat a large stone basin, carved from a single block of rock. But this was no ordinary ceremonial vessel. The residue inside wasn't just ash. It contained traces of unusual metals like lead and mercury, materials often associated with ancient binding or sealing rituals. Scattered around the basin were clay oil lamps, but they looked nothing like the thousands found in other excavations. These were primitive, almost crude, dating to a period far older than the First Temple itself. Faint traces of incense were also detected in the air pockets, but chemical analysis revealed something unexpected. It was made from plants known for their sedative properties, not the uplifting scents used in worship. Then came the most disturbing discovery of all. Carved into the smooth, curved wall of the chamber was an inscription, etched in an early form of Paleo-Hebrew, one of the oldest written languages in the region. When linguists translated the faint, spidery letters, a wave of silence swept through the entire research team. The inscription made no mention of God, holiness, or divine presence. Instead, it was a warning, chilling in its simplicity. Here, the warden stands guard. Do not open. That single phrase changed everything. The team had gone looking for the Holy of Holies, the most sacred space in ancient Judaism. But what they found appeared to be something entirely different. A prison cell or containment chamber, guarded, at least in legend, by someone or something known only as the warden. And suddenly, all the pieces fell into place in the most terrifying way possible. The strange metallic residue in the basin, the sedative incense, the primitive lamps, the warning carved into stone. It all pointed to one conclusion, one that no one on the team wanted to believe. This chamber wasn't built to keep people out. It was built to keep something in. It wasn't built to keep people out. It was built to keep something in. The scientists were now facing a possibility far darker than anything they'd ever imagined. What if the true purpose of this sacred hill wasn't to honor God at all? What if the temple was constructed not as a house of worship, but as a seal? A holy barrier designed to keep something ancient, dangerous, and forgotten from ever escaping? The idea sounded insane, yet the evidence in front of them couldn't be ignored. The Temple Mount, the holiest site on earth, might not have been a temple at first. It might have been a prison. This discovery didn't just challenge history, it threatened to shake the very foundations of faith itself. Billions of believers across the world could find everything they've been taught turned upside down. Because if the AI scans were correct, then beneath the holiest ground on earth lay something far more ancient and far more terrifying than anyone had dared to believe. The revelation of the sealed chamber and its ominous inscription, "Here the warden stands guard. Do not open," has thrown both archaeology and theology into chaos. The discovery is so new, so explosive, that it's being kept under the tightest security imaginable, known only to a handful of scientists and government officials. But word has already started to leak, and what's coming out is worse than anyone expected. So let's take a step back and look at what this could really mean. Is it possible that everything the scans suggest is true? Or are we missing some crucial piece of the puzzle? Because if it is true, then we have to ask a question almost too terrifying to speak aloud. Who or what is the warden? And what exactly is it guarding? Ancient texts from the Near East, stories that predate the Bible itself, tell of powerful, non-human entities, beings of immense strength and knowledge. Some were worshipped as gods, others feared as demons. Many of these ancient civilizations believed that certain places on Earth were special, points where the barrier between worlds grew thin, where something from beyond could cross into our reality. What if the Temple Mount was one of those places? This discovery opens up a world of unsettling possibilities. One theory is that the chamber was a prison, a containment cell for an ancient being. Perhaps the earliest inhabitants of Jerusalem encountered something they couldn't destroy. So they trapped it deep within the bedrock instead. The inscription, "Here the warden stands guard," could refer not to a single being, but to an order of guardians, generations of priests sworn to maintain the seal and ensure that whatever was inside stayed buried. In this scenario, the first temple wasn't simply a house of prayer. It was a spiritual containment system, a massive stone cap built to reinforce the seal. The sacrifices, the chants, the rituals, all could have been designed not to worship, but to bind. But there's another, even stranger possibility. What if this chamber isn't a prison at all, but a gateway? The warden wouldn't be a guard in the conventional sense, but a gatekeeper, a being or force controlling access to another realm or dimension. And here's the unsettling truth. Many ancient cultures believed in such portals, places where heaven, earth, and the underworld intersected. If that's the case, then the entire history of the Temple Mount might actually be a story of humanity trying to control that gateway, to either harness its power or seal it forever. Now, think about what would happen if this information ever went public. For thousands of years, Jerusalem has stood as the heart of monotheism, the belief in one God. But this discovery hints at something older, darker, and far more complex buried at its core. It suggests that the world's most sacred site may have pagan or occult origins, that it was built to contain a power the ancients feared. Such a revelation would upend the core beliefs of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all at once. The conflict over who owns the Temple Mount would suddenly seem trivial compared to the battle over what to do with what lies beneath it. Would some demand that the chamber be opened? Would others insist it must remain sealed, no matter the cost? The potential fallout could spark a global spiritual crisis, even war. Because if this is real, it would mean that the myths of gods, angels, and monsters weren't just stories. They might have been warnings. So, are we missing something? Or did artificial intelligence just uncover a truth that humanity was never meant to find? For now, the chamber remains sealed, silent, undisturbed, and ancient beyond comprehension. And somewhere, beneath the weight of centuries, the warden still stands guard. Watching, waiting, leaving us with one haunting thought. Maybe the story of the Temple Mount isn't about what humanity built above, but what it tried so desperately to keep buried below. The secrets of the Temple Mount are only just beginning to surface. What do you think lies inside the sealed chamber? Is it proof of an ancient power, or something else entirely? Let us know your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown.